Katie. I don't have to tell you what kind of trouble you're in, do I? You're a smart girl. You can figure it out for yourself.
Stormy Monday is a super underrated and overlooked 80s gangster gem. It stars a young wide-eyed Sean Bean as a character called Brendan, who gets a job at a jazz club in Newcastle, which is owned by none other than Sting. Sting plays a character known as Only Mr. Finney, who gets in over his head with American gangster Francis Cosmo, who wants him to hand over his club. Brendan meets a young woman called Kate, played by Melanie Griffith, and they find kind of an innocent little romance in the midst of all this crazy crime stuff in the Newcastle sleazy, dark, threatening streets. This movie for me goes in the category of the British gangster films I absolutely love, such as The Long Good Friday, such as Get Carter. They just have a style, an atmosphere, and such an authenticity, and you just feel and you just experience the British streets of the time. It's just such a different time. Obviously it was in the midst of Thatcherism and Reaganism. Everyone was just desperate to get money, and there was just this real underbelly, kind of insidious feeling to it, because people were being left behind, but people were also getting filthy rich. But everything wasn't above water, there was lots of corruption, and it did create some great gangster films, let's be honest. The film's directed by Mike Figgis, who actually didn't do a lot that I know of, but he did direct Leaving Las Vegas, which is one of just the greatest films ever made. It's just fantastic, and it does kind of develop on the kind of desperate romance of this film, but obviously in a much more dramatic and drastic way, because in Stormy Monday, this romance isn't necessarily doomed. These two characters are kind of lonely people. They get in over their head in this crime world, but they find each other. They can be together, unlike a lot of gangster films where the relationship's always doomed. There is nihilism, there is kind of horrible grit at the heart of the film and ruthlessness, but these two characters are the innocence at the heart of Stormy Monday. This is a really convincing relationship between Sean Bean and Melanie Griffith. Both actors here, very young, had a real spark. Obviously we know Sean Bean went on to do a lot. Melanie Griffith also starred in the Brian De Palma film Body Double, and she just has this spark to her, and she's just got this kind of desperation and sadness behind the eyes, and just kind of wanting to be loved. Both these characters want to be loved. They genuinely appreciate the other person. They're good people, despite getting involved with bad people. Melanie Griffith also has the classic 80s hairdo. Mental. You've also got musician Sting as Mr. Finney, and he's actually really good. He's really convincing. There's a real measured feeling to his performance. It's very reserved, but you feel like there's lots of aggression inside. You feel like he's perhaps got involved in shady deals in the past, but at his heart he just wants to keep this club, and he really believes in it, and he doesn't want to work with these gangsters who come and see him. There's lots of good little lines with Sting, and you know what, he reels in the performance. You know, it's not a wild and over the top performance. It's not one of those musician performances where you look at it and it doesn't really work. It is convincing, it does feel genuine, and it is very good.
Don't lose your sense of humour, Roy. Wanker.
This is like the British gangster movies dipped in to the American ones, because of course we have Tommy Lee Jones as the lead gangster, Francis Cosmo, and he's incredibly ruthless and intimidating and intense in this film, and you think to yourself, Tommy Lee Jones, a gangster, oh yeah, that's obvious. But up to this point, before I'd seen this film, I never really placed him as a gangster, but then you see him as it, and yeah, he should be a gangster. He nails it completely. He's just so sleazy and horrible, and puts out this fake facade to the world that he's a legit businessman, but really he will kill anyone at the drop of a hat, and he's all about money. And he just represents that time of Britain and America trying to be these kind of transatlantic partners, making as much money as possible, and really they were just being led by shady businessmen who actually didn't care about prosperity. They just cared about prosperity for themselves. His speeches in this, they just get under your skin, and you just know he's not genuine.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And when I look at England, in particular this area, this once great area, I can see that the going is tough. I can also see that it is time the tough got going.
I mean, they want to take the club from Mr. Finney, So he just sends two of his guys over there and gets them to burn a picture of Mr. Finney's family in front of him. That's how he approaches Mr. Finney to ask him to sign the club over. He burns a picture of his family. That is insanity. That is ridiculous. And then he has the audacity to have a go at one of his men who says, let's just go around and unleash guns on them. Francis reacts like it's the worst suggestion ever when he's just burnt a picture of a man's family in front of him. So it's just one of those great little moments for a gangster, like where he just tries to hold on to some moral authority even though he's a terrible person.
That's smart thinking, Bob. That's real smart thinking. All the goddamn money I spend around here, you want to go play Al Capone with some fucking meatball, you fucking juvenile!
And like The Long Good Friday and Get Carter and all those gangster films, at the heart of Stormy Mondays, there's just this idea of losing control, of new powers coming in, of this time of capitalism being very, very short-lived for people. There will always be someone coming for what you have, especially in the 1980s, and that's what it is at the heart, a sense of losing control, a worry that someone is always going to come around the corner and take what you have, so no one is ever fully comfortable when they take the kind of underhanded lifestyle, when they don't do it legitimately. It's actually quite a slow-paced film, in contrast to The Long Good Friday, where that's just kind of fast-paced, go, go, go. This is kind of, it has a ticking time bomb atmosphere, but there is time given to develop the real, genuine love between Brendan and Kate. Those scenes are incredibly romantic, you know, despite being in this seedy, horrible world. These characters are so good at convincing you they are in love. And at one point, there's a tragic moment where Kate asks him what he wants from her. Like, she can't fathom that he would want her. And it's about that. It's about the people who were left behind at this time and who get in over their heads and get involved in things they shouldn't. But ultimately, there's a good person inside who deserves to be loved. These are the two people in the film who actually deserve happiness. And you're constantly sat there worried that they will be the ones who suffer in the end. It does build up. It builds and builds and builds to this really impactful, devastating ending. And Sean Bean's performance in the ending is incredible, really. You know, the young Sean Bean really puts a lot of emotion and shock into his reaction to this ending. Sting is fantastic in this ending. He's just trying to calm Brendan down because he's kind of used to all this stuff happening, but Brendan's young and innocent. He doesn't understand how this is what the city is now. These things can happen. And I love Stormy Monday. I love how it's just this authentic and gritty and honest from the heart British gangster film that's slow paced but really taps into those themes and ideas and moments that really make British gangster films stand out as some of the best. Let me know if you've seen this film in the comments below. If you haven't, definitely watch it if you're remotely interested in gangster films. It really is a film that's been overlooked and it deserves to be seen. Check out more of my gangster movie reviews on the channel. Please subscribe and I'll see you guys next time.